So I was in denial that I was actually self-sabotaging in my life, and today I wanted to share with you the 3 ways that you might be self-sabotaging in your own life. The first way that I was self-sabotaging was that I was obsessed with proving myself. And initially you might look at that and think there's nothing wrong with proving yourself, right? Like, you want to prove yourself, you want to put yourself out there, put your best foot forward, everything like that. But it went so much deeper than that. It was not just that I wanted to make a good impression, and it was not just that, oh, I want to, open up doors and get more opportunities because I've proven myself as, intelligent or proven myself capable or anything like that. It was this spiteful desire to prove myself. Where I went to college, my classes, I was surrounded by primarily men, okay? Primarily, there were mostly guys in my classes, business school, things like that. And I had primarily male teachers as well. So I was surrounded by a lot of men, and I just, for some reason, nobody was telling me I had to prove myself, but for some reason, I felt like I had to, be this kind of persona of I'm the best, I'm the most intelligent, I'm the smartest, I'm, the most hardworking, I'm, all of these things. I felt like I had to go above and beyond and prove myself. On the surface, that might sound like, okay, yeah, like I could sort of see that, right? You're surrounded by men, you're a woman, like that sort of makes sense. But it was this spiteful energy, this spiteful attitude altogether that it was not opening up doors for me, right? In fact, it was simply closing doors for me, and I became so obsessed with proving myself and proving the fact that, oh, I can do this just like all of you, right? I can hang with the boys, I can be one of the guys, good old boys club, I fit right in, right? Like, I wanted to prove myself so badly, and I was so obsessed with proving myself that I did not stop for a moment to even think, is this what I want, okay? And that is where the self-sabotage came in, was that I was so obsessed with proving myself that I ended up going down this whole entire path, this whole entire road that I didn't even want, right? Because I was hyper-focused on proving myself. And I was completely blind to the fact that I didn't want any of it. What did I end up doing? Well, I ended up, going to school and getting this degree and getting all of this student debt for something that I didn't even want. I started this career that I didn't even want. I made an impression with all these people that I didn't even want, right? Like, there was all these things that it's like, I don't even want this. Why am I working so hard for this? And looking back, there were a lot of things that, I would not take back, that I would not trade for anything that happened to me in college. But there were a lot of things that it's like, if I had any sort of awareness of what I was doing, I would take a step back, really look at what I was doing and what I was perpetuating, basically, and I would stop, right? I would stop, because there were a lot of subsequent issues and a lot of subsequent challenges and obstacles that came that it was like, I didn't have to experience these, right? I could have been further in the career that I want, right? The YouTube career that I'm pursuing now, I could have been further along in that if I had just stopped for a moment and looked at what I was doing and said, I don't want this. This is what I want here, right? So in your life, perhaps you are trying to prove yourself in some area of your life. Take a look at that area of your life and see, do you even want it? Stop, and stop trying to prove yourself to people that aren't even looking for you to prove yourself. And that brings me to my second point, the second way that I was self-sabotaging, and that is I was convinced that everybody was thinking about me all the time. And you might be thinking, wow, Ellison, like, full of yourself much? But you probably feel this way too. It's this belief that if you take some action, that somebody's going to see it and they're going to obsess over the fact that you shouldn't be doing that. That's a stupid decision. That's ridiculous. That's hilarious. That's juvenile. That's dumb, right? You feel like people will just come after you with all that they have people that you care about primarily, right? People that it's like, I really care about their opinion. I really care about what they think of me. You are convinced that they are just hyper-focused on you. I was convinced that there were people in my life that were hyper-focused on my life situation, my life choices, my decisions, my desires. I felt like there were people, like there was just this spotlight on me all the time. There's not, but I felt like there was. And so when you feel like, oh my word, like everybody's watching me, everybody's looking at me, everybody's thinking about me all the time, everybody has opinions about me and they're just obsessing over me and thinking about me all the time. When you feel like that, when it feels like that spotlight is on you, you I started not doing things that I wanted. It was not just, oh, I refuse to do this thing because it's scary. It was, I refuse to take this action because what is so-and-so going to think? And I had specific faces in mind. I had specific people in my head that I thought, if I pursue this, if I go down this path, they're going to have thought about it. They're going to have some opinion about it. They're going to have something to say about it. There were so many things that I refused to take action on. It took me forever to actually pursue this YouTube career. There were even moments during college, that time when I said I was hyper-focused on proving myself. There were even moments in college when I thought, YouTube might be sort of fun. Like, that sounds like a sort of a fun thing that I could start doing. Seems pretty simple, seems pretty easy. But oh my word, I was absolutely terrified that certain people in my classes would see my YouTube videos, that certain people in my family and in my, friendship circles, that they would see that I was posting on YouTube and that I wasn't good at it yet. And that, things, I was doing something strange. And I was doing something that was unconventional and, it was different. And I was just so convinced that if they saw it, that they would laugh at it and then they would tell me how ridiculous it was that I was doing this. And then the spotlight would be on me and I would have to recover and be okay and everything like that. So that was probably my sophomore or junior year that I thought YouTube might be something. It took me until I graduated college. It took me 2 to 3 years after I had that initial thought to actually say, you know what? I think I want to try it. 2 years, 2 to 3 years. Talk about a holdup, right? And all of that time was wasted, right? All of that time that I spent thinking that people were just hyper-focused on me, I wasted so many years and so much time believing that people were just watching me and that people just were analyzing my every move. And here is the conclusion that I've come to. People don't think about me. People don't think about you. And here's how I know that. Because I'm not obsessing about what other people are doing. As humans, we're pretty self-centered, right? And I don't care how selfless of a person you are, you think about yourself most of the time. Why? You're the only person that you know this well, right? You know yourself best. You're around yourself all the time. You just think about yourself. You think about yourself. It's a survival strategy. It's how we survive. It's how we exist. We think about ourselves. We're focused on what our life looks like. And we have moments of selflessness, but for the most part, we think about ourselves. And when I realized it, it's I'm not thinking about all these other people who are doing super cool things or even ridiculous things. I'm not thinking about them most of the time, right? So why would they be thinking about me? Why? Why would they be thinking about me? And so I had to get out of my head that, oh yeah, the so-and-so, he's just sitting there Ellison, she's doing some weird stuff over there. I saw that she posted a video and it's really ridiculous. I'm going to take my notes. Nobody is thinking about me that much. Nobody's thinking about you that much. And so you are able to relax. You are able to actually take the action. Don't let this belief that somebody's watching you, don't let this belief that somebody's watching you stop you from doing it. Don't let this belief that somebody cares stop you from doing it. And the last thing that I have just recently realized I was doing for the longest time, and I created a video maybe a week and a half ago that was touching on this, and this is guilt tripping. Guilt tripping as self-sabotage. And I want to create like a whole video about guilt tripping because I feel like my mind has been completely opened and blown by the impact of this. So with guilt tripping, it is this idea of you have a problem, I have a problem, but you are the cause, right? You've blamed people. I'm blaming somebody else for my problems. And, I'll give you an example of how I did this in college, okay? So I had a number of friendships that fizzled in, middle school, high school. Everybody does, right? It's just a fact. But I was just so twisted up about the fact that these friendships in my life had failed. And so how I would interact with people at college so often of the time was, oh yeah, like friendships, they just don't work out for me, blah, 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 blah. I'm just never invited to things. I'm just never this, I'm never that. I'm always alone. People just don't want to be around me. People don't invite me. I'm never included. Okay. So literally what I was doing was these brand new friends, these brand new people that I was around, I was literally blaming them for things that happened in high school. And it made them not want to be around me, right? Ways that I've done it now that I've become aware of and am addressing is this, idea of I'm not successful. I don't have as much money as you do. I don't get the opportunities that you do, right? I'm just little old me and nobody gives me opportunities and I don't make a lot of money like you. So what does that do? Well, that makes the people around you feel guilty for you want them to feel guilty. Let's put it that way. You want them to feel guilty about your situation. You're sort of blaming somebody else. I've sort of blamed other people for the challenges that I'm having in my life or that I've had in my life in the past. I'm blaming them for that. And does that make them want to give me more opportunities? No. In fact, it repels people from me, right? When you are guilt tripping, it repels people away from you, which repels the opportunities, which repels right? It is a repelling energy. Guilt tripping is literally, the moment you do it, guilt tripping or self-pity and stuff like that, feeling sorry for yourself, it is so repelling. It is such a turnoff, right? And so it is very obviously a way to self-sabotage, right? Because what you're basically doing is you are behaving a way, you are talking to people a certain way, you're communicating with people a certain way that literally makes them not want to be around you. And the moment that somebody does not want to be around you is the moment that a whole area of opportunity goes away. The moment that you are a complete turnoff and a complete, right, like you blame them for everything, you say these things, you make them feel bad about themselves. They do not want to be around you. They don't want to be around you anymore. So why would they offer you opportunities? Why would people want to be around you when you make them feel bad about themselves? With all three of these, they are not the obvious, self-sabotage that people talk about a lot, where it's like, oh, this opportunity is in front of me, but I just refuse to take it because I'm just programmed to not take opportunities. That is definitely self-sabotage. But I think that self-sabotage sneaks in like these very tiny, not tiny, but these very hidden subconscious ways of behavior. In these subconscious ways that you are presenting yourself to the people around you. For years, I was stuck in this habit of proving myself, of guilt tripping people, and of worrying about what people thought of me. And it was this cycle of how I presented myself to the world, right? It was not simply the opportunity's here, but I'm not taking it. It was, how do people feel around me? When people look at me, what do they see? Do they see somebody that it's like, well, sure, she's not perfect, but she's going for it. She just keeps going and she's happy and she's having a good attitude and, she's wonderful to be around. I love to be around her. Am I presenting myself that way, or am I presenting myself in a way that it's like, get the frick away from her because she is horrible, right? Like, she just makes me feel like a slime ball of anger and resentment and blah. And I want to be clear, like, I am not saying these things, I'm not talking about this or anything like that because I'm like, oh, you need to, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like I said, I am 100% guilty of this. The only reason I'm talking about this is because I spent 7 years of my life operating under this umbrella of behavior. And, I think that it takes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of thought about how you are presenting yourself, basically, right? It's self-presentation, and it is this behavioral, how are you communicating who you are, and how are you communicating with the people around you, and how do you make people feel? Right? Because I think that is something that we do lack sometimes, is where it's like, well, I don't care about what people think and I don't care how people feel, I feel this way. And I think that can sometimes really be to our detriment, because we aren't taking the time to really realize that we are not self-made. Nobody is self-made, right? We behave a certain way, and we, put ourselves out there, and what comes back to us is based on how we are treating other people and how we are presenting ourselves and how we think about ourselves and about other people. And, we can't ignore these subtle ways that self-sabotage are showing up. The subtle ways that self-sabotage is showing up. There we go. We can't ignore the subtle ways that self-sabotage is showing up in our lives, and we can't ignore how we are presenting ourselves. Because, well, I would love for it to not matter. And I would love to come on here and say, it doesn't matter, do what you want, it really does matter. And it really does matter how you are communicating yourself and how you are communicating your feelings, your desires, and just your personality and who you are. How are you communicating that to yourself? Not to yourself, to other people. How are you communicating that to the people around you and to the circumstances around you? In the moment that you really become aware of how you are presenting yourself and how other people feel around you, right? If you are a complete turnoff, and if you make people feel just not good about themselves, primarily, if you don't make people feel good about themselves in some way, right? In some way, then for the most part, they're not going to want to be around you. That's something that I really realized, is that I didn't make people feel good around me. I was making people feel targeted and guilty, right? And I was making people feel like, man, she's just miserable and I don't want to be around her. As I've started to really shift, how I'm behaving and how I present myself to people around me, I've noticed that it's not like, oh, people are dropping to their knees and like offering me all of these fabulous opportunities and everything. But what I've noticed is that, for one thing, I feel better, but I don't feel like people are repelled by me, right? I don't make people feel like, oh, gee, right? And so I hope that this video helps you. I hope that it's not I hope it triggers you in a way that makes you address the issue. Let's put it that way, right? I don't want you to feel targeted or triggered or anything like that, but I hope that it inspires you to actually take an action in your life that is going to help you really come to terms with who you are, be secure with who you are, and to become more aware of those small actions, those small subtle behaviors that you have in your life that stem from your mindset, but that, are communicated through how you're treating other people and how you are presenting yourself to other people. I really hope that this sort of helps you to think about that, consider that, become aware of it, and sort of tweak and adjust those different areas in your life that it's like, yeah, that is not helping me at all, right? That is not helping me or my desires, or it's not progressing me in the direction that I want to be going. And that's not how I want to be looked at. That's not what I want my reputation to be as I become more successful. If you are interested in learning more about self-sabotage and how it can really be sneaking into your life in these very subtle ways, then I actually have a video all about how self-sabotage basically showing up in your everyday life and really sneaking into those cracks of your everyday life. So make sure you go ahead and watch that. It's a really good video, and it's something that has honestly completely changed my life and how I approach my life and how I communicate with other people. So definitely go and check that out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love you oh so very much. And until we meet again, so long